For the thank you, the two government executives or officials up there, there's been considerable skepticism expressed about the administration's ability to reach 1 million vehicles, EVs, by 2015. As far as the policy levers that are now being used and those that have been proposed, are these sufficient, or are there others that are under consideration? And once you give your answer, will the Volvo executives please address, was that answer satisfactory to you?
That's fair.
In Washington, I would never say it is not sufficient.
I don't mind going first. I had a whole slide on this in my presentation that, and from our perspective, there are major pieces of the puzzle in place. There's a tax incentive already in place. The Recovery Act is establishing manufacturing facilities, initial charging infrastructure. The President's proposed a $200 million program to work with major cities across the country to establish infrastructure. The R&D is happening to bring the cost down. The ATVM program, loan program, is helping manufacturers establish manufacturing facilities. Really a lot of the levers are in place. So that said, you can only do what you can do, and the consumers have to either accept these products or not. And so it's very gratifying to see OEMs coming out with product. The next step will be to see how are these products received by the consumers. Will they buy them in the numbers that we hope they will?
The President has asked for additional incentives. The $7,500, I think it's $7,500 credit at point of sale as opposed to the tax credit. If we can achieve that, that will help incentivize this. And there's additional things that we have proposed. So you can do more. We are trying to do more, but as Pat says, ultimately it's up to the consumers. But we have a lot of reason for confidence, and we are confident. I think it's going to happen.
I understand that this 1 million electric vehicles includes plug-in hybrids and range extender. That is very important to understand, because pure electric vehicles, 1 million, I think will not be reached at all. But when we talk about the wide range of electrification, I think it is reachable, and I can confirm that we receive, I think the instruments the government has installed are sufficient. As a European, I may say one major obstacle for electric vehicles are the still relatively low fuel prices in the United States. Even with fuel prices under $5 per gallon, this is significantly lower than in Europe. And in Europe, since the middle of the 70s, since the first oil crisis, the government put heavy tax year by year on fuel. Fuel is approximately 3 to 4 times as more expensive than here in the United States, and that encouraged actually consumers to change quicker their mind towards more fuel-efficient vehicles, and that's why the energy bill in respect of transportation in Europe is better than in this country, as one reason. Now, I know that it is very difficult to encourage the government to increase taxes in this country here, but whether this objective will be reachable or not is also heavily depending where the oil price is going in the future. As long as oil is so comfortable for all of us to get at the pump, even if it is getting a little bit more painful, the less attractive is getting an electric vehicle. We have to understand this. And the mechanism of tax is, I think, an instrument government needs to consider as well to really make that happen, that there is a higher demand for electric vehicles. We can talk about cost reduction when we have the scale of economics. Even if you reduce the cost significantly, these vehicles will be more expensive for American consumers as they are right now. And only if there is a true offset with alternatively high fuel prices, this makes sense for a private consumer when he's buying or leasing a car.
Let me just add one data point to Stefan's comments. So the Bush tax credits that were initiated in the United States during the Bush II administration from 2000 to 2008 saved the average American household $1,900 per year. The increase in price of oil up to, let's say, an average $100 a barrel has cost the average family $2,200 per year. So we can have, let's say, any debate, and certainly I will be ready for any debate that there needs to be, bring data, not politics. But if we want to have any debate about the recovering U.S. economy and about creating jobs, let's talk about the cost of energy and the fact that oil is going to continue moving in a positive direction as China and India continue to grow at double-digit rates. And to me, again, I think electrification is inevitable because of these issues around the overall cost of energy, and I think that's critical to understand in terms of that. The question of timing, of course, is what we're debating.
So while the microphone makes it over here to the last question, I'm just going to take off on this question just a minute, and that is to ask for the same interchange around safety regulations. So, Leonard, you demonstrated to us the technology that you created in the C30. It seems to be a very crash-worthy, very stiff vehicle. Passenger compartment is well maintained. Do you feel that? And again, my experience with the agency is that the agency likes to listen to best-in-class performers, and they're willing to take any advice that they can from good performers. But do you think that the overall industry is ready to aspire to as high of a safety status as you have obtained with the C30? And the second question then to Kevin would be, what is the government's role in ensuring that the safety standards are sufficiently high without diminishing the marketplace to ensure the safety of Americans?
I will give you a very humble answer, because when it comes to safety, I do not think that we know everything about the safety consequences of electrification. And the reason for that is that the industry has, over the years, applied the same thinking and think that the electric vehicle work the same as a normal propulsion, normal gasoline engine with fuel tanks. We are now on a complexity level which is different, and it's new stuff that has to interact, which has never been working before. And of course, on the paper, it can be fixed with the knowledge we have today. But I'm very humble here. I think that there are a lot of things here which we will detect and which we must understand, especially on the system integration level, to see what kind of things that could happen when all these new 1,000 parameters has to work together, and we have to design the new logical machines and the redundancy levels which you have to build into the car. We have spent a huge amount of time on to define the redundancy systems in especially the motor control units, and we have to spend also on the car level a lot of redundancy discussions and building in hardware to take care of situations where one part of the system is failing and it has to hand over to another part. And the interesting thing with redundancy, of course, that you must get input into the system from different sources and then judge them, and then decide which one is the right, which one is the same, and which one is the insane, and take command. All these things has to be explored and understood to its full extent. And I'm very humble. I don't think we are absolutely at the 110% yet. So that is my, not a simple answer, but that's where we are.
Well, you've just defined the regulatory conundrum of NHTSA, in that they're boxed in also by a requirement only to regulate what they can demonstrate in terms that lives will be saved, and only that at about $4.5 million per life saved. So until there is loss of life, it's a very difficult calculation.